Hello, everybody. My name is Pedro Astorga, and this is my informative speech. It is scary to find out that roughly 70% of the general public has at one point in time been affected by the same thing. It is only made worse by the fact that this percentage increases for minority students pursuing a higher education. I do feel as if I have sufficient knowledge on the topic, as it was one of the major reasons why I withdrew from my previous university. Today, we're going to cover the topic of imposter syndrome, show the severity of the issue, and go over some of the resources that schools do offer to help students. I'm going to do this by explaining exactly what imposter syndrome is, explaining how it affects students in particular, and by going over some of the resources that Pierce does offer to help students. To begin, we need to go over what it is and what causes it. Imposter syndrome is most commonly described as a sense of inferiority, the belief that you are not able to accomplish what is expected of you. While it is not exclusive to a particular group, it has been documented as more common in minority groups. Dema Ramos and Raquel Rayet-Mier, authors of the article Imposter Syndrome, a buzzword with damaging consequences published by Diverse Issues in Higher Education, view imposter syndrome as a direct byproduct of systemic oppression. Minorities are believed to experience imposter syndrome more because they're limited in terms of representation in many fields and industries. Minorities see this and begin to doubt their capabilities. Any troubles or shortcomings that they do experience reinforce this self-doubt and cause a vicious cycle in which they begin to blame themselves and view themselves as incompetent. You may see the severity of the issue and ask the question, how does this affect me? Well, it is very important to understand the concept of imposter syndrome because we are students pursuing a higher education, and because of this, we are more inclined to be affected by imposter syndrome. Anastasia Teslina Williams, author of the newsletter Imposter Phenomena in the Classroom, published by the Harriet W. Sheridan Center for Teaching and Learning, states that 70% of the general public report feeling imposter phenomena, and this percentage increases in academia. We already know how widespread the issue is. The question now becomes, what are the effects of feeling inferior? What are the effects of this self-doubt? One of the biggest documented effects would be a drastic decrease in mental health. Imposter syndrome is believed to result in mental health disorders like anxiety and depression. Said disorders create their own set of problems and obstacles that students are required to overcome in order to be successful. Because of this exact reason, students who are exposed to imposter syndrome are more likely to perform poorly in class and ultimately withdraw from their studies. As we have just seen, the negative effects of imposter syndrome can be quite scary. One may ask themselves, am I doomed? Is there any way that I can prevent this from happening to me? While there's no definite way of preventing imposter syndrome, one should be made aware of the immense amount of resources that schools do provide in order to help reduce, or as Rachel Wiggins says in her journal, Imposter Syndrome, what it is and how to overcome it as a graduate student, combat the issue. Most colleges and universities are aware of imposter syndrome and how it can drastically affect students. For this reason, help in terms of counseling or emotional support is offered to help students. Los Angeles Pierce College has a website dedicated entirely to student services in order to provide the help that students need. In addition to this, many colleges and universities provide the students the ability to join social organizations and clubs to help create a sense of inclusion. It is recommended to join said organizations because it has been proven to drastically reduce the chances of getting imposter syndrome. In conclusion, we have just gone over a few of the ways to help reduce the drastic effects of imposter syndrome. Today, we were able to cover the topic of imposter syndrome, show the severity of the issue, and go over some of the resources available to students. We were able to do this by explaining what imposter syndrome was, explaining how it affects students in particular, and by going over just some of the resources that Pierce does offer its students. With the information provided, it is now up to you, the student, to decide whether or not you want to look for help or if you need help. I was a little bit late in doing so, and I delayed my education a year because of it. Thank you all for your time, and thank you for listening to my speech. Goodbye.